Hello producers, it's Özgün here. In this tutorial, we are gonna talk about how to use send or insert reverb, which one is better, which one is different. So we will apply both of the reverbs in some situations and see which one is acting better in which scenario. So if you're ready, let's get into that tutorial. Okay, I create something like this. Let's hear how it sounds.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here. I'm about to fall if I run through all these
Okay, so almost there's no processing on any sound. I just put some OTT to the orchestral drums. So as you can see, all of the sounds are too dry. So when we are using reverb, why do we need reverb? Because using reverb, we can give our track a contrast. So it means the difference between the voices, other sounds. With reverb, we can create some depth and we can create some dimension to our mix. And that is really important because if everything is too dry and there is no dimension feeling on the music, it's not gonna sound good. You need to create a contrast, give some elements more reverb and push them back to the mix. And in the meantime, some of them, you will keep them in the front of your mix. So with this contrast, you can get rid of if some certain elements are fighting with each other in the mixdown, and that's why reverb is so important on this topic. So let's start with the vocal and bass. I always do like this. If there's a vocal track, I mix it with the bass, and after I balance it, I put other elements top of it. So let's normalize the vocals.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces.
The vocals are too dry at the moment, so let's just quickly give it some compression. So for the sake of this tutorial, again, I'm not gonna work on compression and stuff, but still, let's make the vocals a bit more tight.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here. I'm about to fall if
I made the balance in my head between vocal and bass. Now I can work on some reverb. So I could put a reverb as insert. Then let's see how it's gonna sound. So I'm gonna choose this preset.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing.
It sounds way better. Let's compare.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more.
So maybe we can get less decay because the decay determines how much the reverb is gonna take. If you do it too much, the reverb tail is gonna be too long. It can clash if you use it on the vocal, but maybe you can use it on some ambient sounds, like give too much decay for some sound design purposes. That's totally fine. But for the vocals, I wouldn't go more than 5.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces.
And even in this case, 3 seconds with like 50% wet is sound good to my ear. But in this situation, the reverb is applying after the limiting vocals. Maybe we added some EQ to here and like do some changes.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing.
then the reverb is applying after the EQ that we did just now. So this plugin is gonna make that give reverb to limited and EQ'd sample. I hope it makes sense. In this kind of usage, we are calling them inserts. So insert means the FX, the VSTs that you are inserting the individual channel. If we are talking about send reverb, we can always create some reverb send and send the vocal also to the reverb send. Let's mute this one and let's copy exactly the same preset so we can compare the sounds of them. So in the first example, when we adding as insert, this channel is going to the master. So when we are making an insert reverb like this and put it like 50%, there will be 50% of the dry signal and 50% of the wet reverb signal in the chain. But when we use a separate bus as a reverb send, we have to get rid of the dry signal and make wet all the way up. And now this channel contains 100% vocal signal without any reverb, and this channel got 100% reverb signal. It doesn't contain any dry signal from the vocal. So with this, you can have totally more control on your reverb. And you can do so many changes here. It's not gonna affect here. So let's see how it sounds.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here.
Let's compare. I'm gonna mute this and turn on this.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing.
So I think the send method is giving more clarity to the vocal, but like the insert method is giving another different character. Like both of them sounds good, but I think the send reverb is way more clean and I have so much control on it. Even I can just put some EQ after this and I can just EQ the reverb, only reverb. So it's a good thing that you have more control on them.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here.
And like if you need to put reverb and delay at the same time, when you put it to insert, for example, we are putting a pimp on like this. So if we put to insert, we need to make the wetness less. If I do it 100%, there will be no dry signal, so I can use it like this. And let's hear how it's gonna sound.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you.
In this situation, I need to choose. If I put the delay in here, it's gonna apply after the reverb. If I put it like this, the reverb is gonna apply to the delayed sound. So both of them gonna sound different.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing.
But we can always try to make a delay send too. And let's send the vocals to here as well. And I'm gonna copy the exact same preset, but don't forget to make it 100% wet and make the dry. No, if you're using in the sand, you already have the dry signal. You only need the wet signal. Just keep that in mind. Okay, let's send it to here and see. In this scenario, the reverb, the delay, and the dry signal, it's not gonna apply one another after. So they have their separate bus.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here.
Again, it's so much clean. By the way, it's not a good way to use them like this. I'm just doing it for the example. You should do that like this. I think it's more clean. You can determine the volumes like sending, like in here. If you send it 100%, it's gonna loud. If you send it less, so you don't need to control this because you might wanna send the piano and the strings to the general reverb send too. That's the point of it. So the second good thing as using the reverb and delay bus as a send, for example, if you want to give vocal, piano, and the strings some reverb, you have to put it one by one to the channel and you need to deal with 3 of the different plugins. But you can just send them to here and they will cover all. And the other good thing is when you're using same bus for several instruments, you are putting them to the same room. So it's gonna sound more glued, more clean, and like more in the context. Okay, let's lock them by clicking with Alt-Shift. And then, okay, let's mix the other elements according to each other. Let's find the sweet spot of the vocal first.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here. I'm about to fall if I run through all these barriers.
Okay, it sounds good. So the reason I'm not working with the volumes because I'm gonna send the piano and the strings too. So I'm gonna make the individual channel volumes on the sends with these knobs. So these knobs determine how much dry signal going to the reverb send or delay send. Keep that in mind and let's go to the strings. Right now the strings are too dry and like I'm sure they are going to clash with the vocal.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you.
I think I can do something like this. Vocal, if there's a vocal in the track, it's like it should a bit separated from the other instruments. This 3 is my vocal chain and I'm not gonna touch them. And I'm gonna create 2 more channels and they should be my instrument sends. So you can always use several sends. So let's do it like this. Maybe we don't use any delay in the instruments. This time I'm gonna use with longer reverb with 6 seconds of tail. Let's get rid of the dry and put the wetness all the way up. So I'm separating my 2 reverbs because the vocals should not be that much glued to the instruments. They should like up front, pop up in the mix and the other elements should help them in the mix. Let's start with the strings.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you.
So in this scenario, let's make it maybe 4 seconds because 6 seconds is too much, I think. It's changing the key and the old reverb tail is still there, so it's a bit clashing. Be careful on this. But like this, I think it sounds really cool. we push the strings really back of the mix. But because we are using a send, the dry signal is always there. So maybe you want to push the strings really, literally to the back of the mix, and you can do it with the insert. Let's put the same one to the insert, and let's get rid of this connection. So I'm gonna give the dry all the way up, but the wet, let's work on it until the strings are pushed back on the mix. Even we can lower the dry too.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me.
Yes, so you see, if I use insert, we can push the sound back and like blur the sound. But if I use it as a send, the sound is still crystal clear, but there's so much space going on in the background. It's bigger and like it sounds really depth. That's why you need to choose which situation is fitting most to your case. So in this scenario, let's use it like this. I'm gonna use really big wetness and like lower the dry in the insert. So I manipulate the original dry sound. That's why it's pushed back in the mix.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing.
Let's add the piano. So actually, I don't want to push the piano all the way back to the mix. I want to give it some space, some depth. So all I need to do is like push this volume until I satisfy it. Maybe I can put some limiter to boost a bit on the volume.
Mirrors here. I'm about to fall if I run through all these barriers. As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces.
And let's continue with the other cymbals. It already has a tail, like processed, but still, to put all the instruments in the same space in the mix, I want to put a little bit of the reverb as a send to the cymbals, so they will glue better. That little tail helps a lot in the transitions, so let's try to make the same thing in the orchestral drum. In here, the claps got the tail, the same tail, but the drums are kind of dry. When they all have their own space, there's 3 or 4 different kind of samples in here. It's not gonna sound like one giant sound, one glued big sound. Even we can use the same technique, send as a reverb send, and then they will be in the same space. Okay, now let's listen all of them.
As I'm running through this jungle, I see faces. I'm looking back at you, but you won't stop chasing. Don't make me look back no more. No review mirrors here. I'm about to fall if I run through all these barriers.
As you can hear, everything is glued better, and this kind of reverbs are really helping to save some time, save some CPU, because you are using one reverb for all of the sounds, and also they can create some space feeling that all the instruments are playing in the same space, and it's gonna sound more consistent in your mixdown. That's why you should try two of them, maybe as an insert, as in the example of the strings. We wanted to push them really back of the mix, but maybe you just want to keep the dry, crystal clear sound on the upfront, but then you want to add some FX behind it or with it. So you can use this kind of sound FX on reverb, delay, chorus, flanger, almost every FX that you can imagine. Even with parallel processing is all about that. And yeah guys, today that was it. I hope you can apply this to your own productions too. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye bye.